So in this video, we are going to talk about chapter 6 in your book, which deals with page layouts and how you can use CSS to manipulate the elements on your web page to make it look like to make a page layout. The first thing we're going to talk about is the CSS, the concept of the CSS box model. We're going to talk about normal flow, and then we're going to get into a lot of the aspects, CSS properties, that actually deals with moving and positioning elements on a web page. So the first place I want to start is the concept of the box model. Now on page, I believe it's 248, I think, in your book, you should have an image that looks like this. Probably should be the exact same image, but the box model basically lets you know, or gives you the concept of having each context as if it was in all the context is sections of your page as if it was all laid out in a box. So think of the box is made up of margins, a border, a padding, and also your content that's in the middle. So your margins, think of your margins as the left and the right, or the margins that are in Microsoft Word. So you have the right, you have the right margin, you have the left margin, and everything is being pulled together, or actually being held, so to speak, in that particular area. So I'll talk a little bit more about margins in a minute, because we start talking about CSS stuff. And of course, you have the border. So the border is actually right around the content. And you have padding. And what padding is the space in between the content and the border itself. So it makes it look like it's the image, or well, it can be an image, but the content that's inside that box is not too close to the border itself. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is on the iDrive, and I also have this if you're not at home or you're not on campus, I also have this on our D12 page, and it's under the section called student data files. And student data files, you're going to get the folder called chapter 6. Okay, so let me go ahead and minimize this real quick. Go to the iDrive here. iDrive. And I'm going to go to IST 226. And I want you to copy, have the chapter 6 folder. I want you to copy that entire folder to the desktop, your computer at home, or to your flash drive. It doesn't matter. I'm going to copy mine to, I have a folder in here called demo, and I'm going to copy it to demo. I thought I had it up there. Should be right here. Yeah, demo. Right. Now I'm going to put it right in here. And this folder contains all of the source code and the exercises that we'll be doing today. So instead of having to type and retype in the code, well, since the code is already typed up for us, we want to actually use the code that's there to manipulate to make it do what we want it to do. Okay, so if you go into your chapter 6 folder, you should see here, I believe it is in box, or in folder 6.1. Yep, in the folder 6.1, it has two files in there. One called box1.html and one called box2.html. I take that back. Go back to chapter 6, to the inside of chapter 6 folder, and open up the one that says box.html. There you go. That's what I want. Go to box.html. We'll come back and do the box 1 and box 2 stuff a little bit later, in a couple of minutes. So we're gonna open. I'm going to open up this box, this file here, the box, the HTML file. I'm gonna go ahead and open this up in Internet Explorer, so you can actually see what the page looks like. Over on the side here, on the right side, you'll see on my computer I have the preview panel up. So when I click on a file, I can get a preview of what is actually on that file. But I'm going to go ahead and open up in Internet Explorer. You may not have that option on your computer, or you may not have it turned on. There it is. But that's why mine looks that way. Okay, so this is it. This is the box model. All right, so going over a little bit up here in this area here, the very top part. This is your margin. Okay, so like I said, it's the very end of your sheet or screen. Next, you have your border. Nice border right here. Okay, yeah, nice border. Now, in between the content and the border, you have the padding. Now, so you see, you have nice padding, nice space and padding around on this box. But you notice on the box down below it, doesn't have any padding on it. And I'm going to add some padding to it a little bit later. So that's the padding. And then you have the content itself inside the box. And a lot of the boxes are actually done using div tags. Because if it's giving the option of the div tag, it gives you more flexibility to actually move things around as a whole on the page itself. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are going to open up this file here, this box.html file. We're going to open up this file in Notepad. Alright, so I am going to go back, make it a little bit easier myself. I'm going to come back down here to my File Explorer, and I'm just going to right click on my box.html file, and I'm going to just hit and put it in Notepad. Yeah, there you go. Okay, now I'm going to split my screen up like I usually do, so you guys can see. Oh, actually, me too. I can see. There it is. The code on my right side and my actual screen or my Internet Explorer on the left side, so we can actually see the manipulation as it's happening, or as we're editing the code. All right, so here we have a div here. If you're looking at our code here, we have our h1 tag, and then we have our div tag that's right down here. And the div tag is our box. Now you see here, actually, this h1 tag, that actually made this h1 tag a box. So this h1 tag is actually this box right here at the top. And so using CSS, they made it into a box using just a border, just putting a border around it. So right now, let's add some padding in between on our second box, or our div box. So I'm going to come down here, right where it says box right here. I'm going to come right below my 0000 hexadecimal code for my border, and I'm going to type in padding. And this is the CSS property for padding. So you can actually put that space in between the border and the content in your box. So I'm going to say padding. Since they did 20% or 20 pixels at the top, I'm going to do 20 pixels too. Now you can, with padding, you can do it by, or adjust it by percentages. That's fine. But today we're going to play with pixels. All right. I'm going to actually hit my tab key here. There you go, and move it over so it'll be a little bit easier to see. Okay. So now I have my added 20 pixels of padding on my box, my second box in my div box. So when I save this and bring it into Internet Explorer, I should now have some space that wraps around my content on my box, as well as put some space in between my content and my border on my box. So let's take a look and see. I'm gonna save this. Haha, nice. So now we can actually see the content of our box. It makes it a whole lot easier to read. Okay, so and that's just adding padding to it. Earlier I talked about margins, and the thing with margins is that they have the component, or they have the a property of margin right, margin left, and margin top and margin bottom. And when you're dealing with margins, you have to think of it in the opposite way. So with the margin left, because you're going from the left, the higher the number or the higher the pixels that you have on that property is going to move closer to the right. And if you are dealing with the margin right, and the higher the pixels go for margin right, it moves over to the left. And the same thing goes for top and margin bottom. So let's try this. For on our second box, yeah, the box that we just added our uh, padding to, let's add a margin left. I'll do margin left, oops, margin dash left, and let's make that 20 pixels. Yeah, since everybody's doing 20 pixels, so that's 20 pixels. And then we tab that over. Yeah, so I'm just pressing my tab key to actually bring it over like that. Alright, it's got a margin left. Now, because we told the margin left, this box here, our second box, should be pushed over to the right. Alright, so let's see. Save. Load. There you go. So you see it actually moved over to the right a little bit because we added that right, that margin left on there. Right, trying to see if anything we can play with the box model here. So let's say we want to do a margin left, or a margin right. So let's say we do a margin right on our second, yeah, that's our second box too. Let's add a margin right. Then let's add a margin right to our pixels. All right, to our box here, and let's add 20 pixels on that one too. All right, so we have margin over to the left 20 pixels, and we have the margin on the right 20 pixels. So you can actually center our content. Yeah, so I think a lot of people are asking about how to consider content, center content and stuff. You can either use it by the margins, you can either use it by percentages, or you can actually tell. You can use, I think it's the, yeah, especially if it's text align, you can actually use this text align, and then move it over to the technical center, and then move it over to the center. Right, so let's go ahead and see what this looks like with both the added margin to the left and the added margin to the right. Let's see what it looks like. Let's save. So you see a little bit, yeah. So it looks like, yeah. So over to the left here, it did move a little bit. Let me maximize my screen so it looks like. Yeah, you really can't tell a lot by it, but you can see that it did move. So all right. Alright, so let's see, because you add a margin right, margin left. Now let's say we want to move or add some more space in between our two boxes. So we want to move our second box down a little bit. Not a problem. Ha 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 ha. We do our margin top. Like I said, with margin top, because you're starting from the top, the higher the number goes for our pixels, it's going to go further down to the bottom. So margin, can't spell margin today. Margin top. And let's do 20 pixels on this one too. Yeah, let's do 20 pixels. All right, do tab you over. All right, 20 pixels. All right, let's see what we got. So 20. I added my margin top 20 pixels, and this should move this one. This our second box down here should move that down 20 pixels. So you should have some more space in between our two boxes. Okay, so just save, refresh. Okay. Margin top pixels, yes. Oh, ha 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 ha. I did a colon instead of semicolon. Save. I know I just saved it. Why aren't you moving? Test. Da, 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 da. Close out, close out. Yeah. Making sure. Alright. Says it didn't like my 20 pixels. Because I didn't see it move. I don't know if you got. I didn't see it move. 200 pixels. Two from the top part. There you go. Yeah, so I guess maybe with 20 pixels was too small, or they were seeing the 20 pixels. It probably was already at 20 pixels. That's why it didn't move. But now you can see it when we changed the margin top. It did bring it down right below our first box. So so that's dealing with the box model. So just playing with the now just using a padding and margin, how you can actually play with the components, move the components of your web page to make it look change the layout of your elements on your web page. So that right there was the box model.